Stress, excitement, speed, and pride. There is no place other than Formula One where all these features can be gathered together. In this video, we have listed 7 of the best Formula One cars in history. When Alfa had packed up its 160 and went off into retirement, there was a space for a new manufacturer to dominate. That team would be Ferrari. As regulations had changed, this car was again not a Formula One car. F1 was running to F2 regs, and Ferrari were the only team to have a car already designed for the new Formula. The 500 in the hands of Alberto Ascari would repeat the feats of Alfa the previous 2 seasons, winning every single race that he entered. Ascari actually escaped the first round in Switzerland to have a go at the Indy 500, a fruitless attempt where he qualified 25th and retired after a spin. The following season was a comparative disappointment. Ascari won only 5 of 8 races he entered. The title and the 500 would only be defeated in the all-important home round in Italy. After 2 seasons, the rules reverted to the Formula One regs, and the 500 was retired with a 100% championship record and a 93.3% win record in the races it had entered. It won 2 more races, one in 54 and one in 55, before being retired for good. The 2002 and 2004 are the cars that really dominated, both winning 15 races, but the 2002 just about edges it by clinching those victories in one fewer race. So dominant was Ferrari at this stage that it didn't even introduce F2002 until the 3rd race of the 2002 season, and it would soldier on until the 4th race of the 2003 season. In fact, if you take just the season, the F2002 was originally designed to race in it, won 14 of 15 races, giving it the same win ratio as the Alfetta. Powered by a screaming 3-liter V10, the F2002 wasn't the most powerful car on the grid. That honor fell to the BMW-powered Williams cars, but it was by far and away the best handling. Featuring an innovative clutchless gearbox that was so small that the rear could be packaged in almost any way designer Rory Byrne wished. It was this extra capacity of aerodynamic design that led to the later introduction of the F2002. Michael Schumacher in his absolute pomp still won the first race of the season in the old car, and then finished 3rd in Malaysia at race 2. So dominant was the F2002 that the Constructors' Championship was won with nearly triple the number of points to Ferrari's nearest challengers, Williams. Mercedes' achievements over the last 6 seasons of hybrid-powered F1 are quite frankly extraordinary. They eclipse even the performance of Ferrari in that early 2000s blitz. In 2016, Hamilton took a quite frankly bonkers 10 victories, including 2 separate runs of 4 in a row. His teammate Nico Rosberg won 9, but followed the Englishman home in second more times, retired only once. The W07 that carried them to these feats therefore took 19 race wins in a single season, a record, and secured a win rate of 90.4%. As well as the aforementioned most wins in a season, it also has the most points in a championship season, 765, the most podiums, 33, the most pole positions in a season, 20, and the highest percentage of poles in a season, 95.2. The heart of Mercedes' success has been an incredible understanding of the 1.6-liter V6 regulations, and the pure 106 engine that powered the W07 was the class of the field. Mercedes have won every championship since the W07, but they have never recaptured that incredible dominance. And yet somehow there also hasn't been as competitive a season since, with Rosberg and Hamilton's title fight going to the very last round, and the battle at the very front of the race. 75 races and 20 wins doesn't sound that impressive in the present company. But the Lotus 72 has an ace up its sleeve. It won 3 Constructors' Championships and 2 Drivers' Championships in 6 seasons of racing, and its 20 victories are spread out over 5 seasons, not just 1. A complete innovation when it was launched, with inboard brakes, side-mounted radiators, and an overhead air intake, the 72 was possibly Colin Champman's masterpiece. The 72 made its debut in the middle of the 1970 season, and after retiring from his first race with it, Johan Rindt processed to reel off 4 wins in a row. It holds the record for the longest time between first and last victories for an F1 chassis, and to be competitive for 5 consecutive seasons seems mind-boggling in the world of pretty much disposable racing cars we live in today. If you were amazed that the F2002, 500 and 158 carrier spanned across a couple of seasons, the 72 is in a completely different world. When the Williams FW14 arrived on the scene, it was a technological marvel, so far advanced of most of its competition it was hardly funny. Teething issues meant that it was never really in with a chance of winning the title that year. But Adrien Newey's first iconic F1 design would still win 7 races that season on its way to second in the championship. In fact, people forget that in that first season, Nigel Mansell won only 2 races fewer than eventual champion Ayrton Senna, and his lack of real title contention was mostly down to the early season struggles that saw the FW14 retire 6 times in 4 races. For 1992, work was done to the troublesome semi-automatic gearbox. New traction control systems and tweaked active suspension made this spec car an even more monstrous machine. Mansell won the first 5 races in a row, a feat still to be beaten, and went on to win a record 9 races in the season. It also qualified on pole for all but 1 race in 1992 and added another 11 fastest laps. The McLaren MB4/2 is probably John Barnard's masterpiece, even though he designed some pretty incredible Ferrari machinery later in his career. The MP4/2 won on its debut in 1984, added another 11 wins that season, 6 the following year and 2 more in 1986. Following on from the MB4/1's innovative all-carbon chassis, the MB4/2 added a tag badge, in-house finance, and Porsche-built turbocharged V6 to the mix. Amazingly, the MP4/2 was actually pretty rubbish in qualifying trim, mostly because McLaren financing their own engines refused to run specific qualifying motors, when the rest of the competition did. Teams like Brabham were heading into qualifying with short-life BMW engines, with the boost turned up to well over 1500 PS. It wouldn't be until Williams turned up with Honda Power in 1986 that McLaren's big Marlboro liveried beast would fall, and even then, thanks to the intensity of Prost, the MB4/2 still took the driver's title one more time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are not going to leave YouTube, I suggest that you also watch this video that is suggested on the left side of the page.